Welcome to another great episode of Grow Through Positivity. I'm excited to have Avi back. Avi's been a guest on our show earlier when we launched this podcast, and we had interest from others to bring him back on. So, with that, Avi, take a minute to introduce yourself, what it is that you do, and with that, we'll get going.
Avi Pinsky. I own Pinsky Consulting. I'm a business finance doctor. I help people make their business healthy so that it can be growing, profitable, and produce consistent positive cash flow that they can use to fund their lifestyle, fund their family, their pay their bills, pay their mortgage, whatever it is that they need to fund from their business so they have the cash flow to do it.
Excellent. So I want to touch on something that you've mentioned in the sense that typically your clients that come to you, do you find that they are missing a specific ingredient, or what is it about their business that they're missing that they come to you? Or is it that you go into a business and you'll do a discovery or a diagnostic and you'll understand what could be fixed in their business?
Yeah. So I guess two different aspects to that. So what are they missing is usually they're very overwhelmed. They're kind of wearing all the different hats of their business. They don't know how to delegate properly, and they don't know how to diagnose the business to figure out where the spots are that they can then better use their time and their efforts to fix whatever's broken. So I come in, I do a financial audit. I'll call it a business wellness check to see where are the problems, where are the issues. Kind of like you go to your doctor, it'll take your blood pressure, it'll take different blood samples, run different tests, and come back with a list of things that you have to do differently in your life. Maybe you have to exercise more, you have to get change your diet up, get more sleep, whatever. So I do a similar thing with your business. I come in and I look at it from a financial point of view, and really the finances tell a huge story that a lot of people unfortunately are missing because they don't know how to understand their numbers. So it's just something they look at once a year when they're doing taxes, and that's it. They rely on their bookkeeper and their accountant to take care of it the rest of the time. But there's a huge story there that can be told if you can understand it. So I help them understand what the numbers are telling them, which areas of the business are healthy, which areas are not so healthy, and what they have to change in order to make the whole picture really look a lot better.
Excellent. So let's break that down a minute. That's a great answer, and I appreciate that clarity. Those that do have a bookkeeper and do have an accountant or a CPA firm, or for the large ones that have in-house CPAs, where do you come in over there?
Yeah, so that's a great point. The problem with relying on your bookkeeper and your accountant is their primary role is focused on the past, right? It's focused on reporting, it's focused on calculating your taxes from the year before. It's all about what happened. Every business, though, should have somebody, whether it's me, whether it's somebody in house, or whatever, you need somebody to figure out how to make the future different, right? So it's one thing to look at your numbers and say, great, so your blood pressure is too high, your cholesterol is too high, your iron, whatever, you're deficient in your vitamin D or whatever. But what are you going to do about it? Right? You need that next step to figure out how are we going to change it going forward? How are we going to make tomorrow better than yesterday? How are we going to make 2025 better than 24, 26 better than 25? Right. So that's where you need some sort of CFO, somebody to be keeping their finger on the pulse and telling you in real time, what can you do to make tomorrow better? Your bookkeeper, your accountant, they're necessary, they're important, but they tell you only what happened. They don't, their focus is not what are you going to do about it? How are you going to make tomorrow better?
Okay, so you tell me that you're focused more on the forecasting and the projections, as well
Yeah.
as taking from their data as well and guiding them in the sense of understanding these are the areas that there's a leak in the bucket, as they say, or a crack in the foundation. And these are the areas. So you're not necessarily telling them how to go about fixing it because they're the ones that are the profession in their industry, but you're going to be the one that's going to bring it to their awareness and
Exactly.
call it out for them so they can get intentional and recognize areas that their hard work is not paying off in the dividends that they think it is because they're not necessarily reflecting on it.
Exactly. And it's not even necessarily just a matter of when there's a leak in the bucket or an expense that's out of control or whatever. It's also sometimes shifting their focus on where should they be spending most of their efforts in their business. Maybe they're servicing clients on a one-to-one basis, and if they have a some sort of group offer, maybe they can really be a lot more. Maybe they can be a lot more profitable, get a lot more clients on board, and maybe that'll bring the individual price point down, but the total revenue is going to go, going to go up a lot more than it's worth it. So sometimes it's just a matter of doing an analysis on what's been working and what could work differently. Which again, your bookkeeper could do that, your accountant could do that. That's not what they're focusing on. That's not the main objective of their job. So I come in and I'll tell you, okay, so yeah, this has been working. You've been getting in clients and treating them, however you're handling them. But maybe there's some other area that we can try to go towards that would be more profitable for you and more profitable for your business. And then, like you said, it's up to the business owner to kind of figure out, okay, how can we make that happen? And we work together on that, right? It's not just I don't just give them a homework assignment and say, okay, go do it all yourself and figure it all out yourself. But we work together to figure out what's the best path forward towards achieving those goals and those objectives.
So I have so many questions that are coming to mind, but let's go with the first one. Typically, or what's the most frequent thing that you've seen with small business owners that's an area where they lack, to bring some attention to our audience?
Um, yeah, so it depends on what business and what industry they're in, right? It could be a matter of paying more attention to your accounts receivables, right? That maybe you've got all these IOUs that are essentially interest-free loans that you're giving to your customers. That's something that you have to keep an eye on. Um, Another area, like kind of like I mentioned before, is focusing on the wrong products and services that they're going to have maybe 10, 15 different services they provide. Some are profitable, some might not be profitable. And you'd be surprised how often people are focusing and pushing the non-profitable sides of their business. So they're working a lot harder, but they're making a lot less money. So doing some sort of an analysis on that is crucial to see that you're actually servicing your customers in the way that the customers need, but also that's going to be lucrative for you. Because as the business owner, right, that's your primary objective is to make money from the business, right? To actually come home with something at the end of the day. And if you're just working really, really hard at servicing your clients and they're getting a good product, but you're not able to take anything out, so you're working for the business, you're not working for you. But if you're the business owner, what are we doing here? Right? What are we running a business for if at the end of the day our family's going to suffer, our personal life is going to suffer? We're not going to get any sleep at night. We're not going to be able to have any time for ourselves to relax. Our personal life is going to suffer. So it's something that you have to make sure that you're focusing your efforts on the areas that matter and that can, be again profitable for yourself.
Okay. Let me ask you this. What size company or how many years in business is a typical client for you? What's like your ideal client?
Yeah. So for me personally, been in business 2, 3 years at least, just that they have some handle on what's realistic to expect from the business. Revenue of $500,000 gross revenue. Again, that's all the money that comes in throughout the year, up to 5 million or so. If you're much bigger than that, if you're at 10, 20 million a year, you should really think about having an in-house CPA, an in-house CFO who's really going to be doing this analysis on a very regular basis, maybe even weekly, depending on what industry you're in and how your business performs. Um, you know, Typically I'm working with smaller business, medium-sized businesses that changes don't happen that frequently. So the once a month or so that I meet with them, sometimes twice a month, so that's sufficient. If you're bigger than that, you should really think about having an in-house CFO to work full time.
Okay, so I think you answered my next question, but I want you to dig deep a little bit in the sense of how long do you work with the client? How frequent? How many hours on a, like, is it I'm sure every client is different, but I'm sure there's some type of a
Yeah.
package. And what I heard from you from that a little bit is that you are coming in and being a fractional CFO to a certain degree, let's call it. And you're not
Yeah,
here, let's make it very clear, you're not here to replace the bookkeeper or the accountant. Those are two very, very crucial components of running a business. But you're here, like
yeah.
I like your title, the financial doctor. So you don't have your doctor all day in your office, but you want him to come in. So tell us a little bit of when you come in, how do you go about that?
Yeah, if you're in a situation where your doctor is living in your house, then you probably are in a pretty bad situation that you have to
Right.
get out of, which some people get to that point and they do need that, daily advice. I come in, I do a monthly analysis and a monthly meeting with our with my clients to make sure that they're on the right track and to see what needs to change to get them on the right track. So I'm typically meeting with them once a month, maybe checking in at the 2 week period, something like that. But not daily meetings or anything. I'm available as needed, but in terms of the check-ins, so that's usually more of a monthly, uh, let's say, correction of the course.
Of course, yeah. Let me ask you, typically with your clients, and feel free to skip the question if it's not polite, but do you find that most of them have a good understanding of their finance, or is
Not
it
at the beginning.
okay?
Hopefully by the end they do. That part of my role is to educate and get them to a point where they can really understand what's going on, because accounting is really the language of business, and a lot of times that's kind of the problem with a bookkeeper and accountant is they can't always translate it into English. They speak Accountanese, and that's really not what a business owner needs.
Do you find that most business owners that you work with have clarity around their vision in regards to like where they're going? So they're bringing you in for that specific reason. Like they know they want to reflect on everything that's going on in order to achieve a goal or to be able to outperform the market. Do you find that at all? Or is it really coming from a reactive, flustered, I'm lost, I'm scattered? My brother in law told me to
Yeah.
call you.
So a lot of them come in with a vision and clarity on where they want to go. But sometimes that gets lost, right? That gets lost in the day-to-day shuffle of handling the fires and putting out the fires and running the business. You're not always able to keep that long-term focus in mind. And that's kind of where the problems start to come along. So they may have started their business with clarity, but at some point they probably lose it. And they need to be reminded every once in a while. So I like to keep the focus on the long-term success of the business and of the business owner. And a lot of times it's kind of the first step is re-clarifying what are we trying to do here. Every year I set goals with them, what targets, where do we want to get the business in the next 12 months, and a lot of times they'll come and they'll say, yeah, well, I had this and this goal, I wanted to start something on the whatever. One of my mentors actually told me about a lawyer that he works with whose dream was to start a gluten-free bake shop for his kid who had celiac. So they might have this side project that they want their business to fund, but the day-to-day grind of the business can oftentimes distract them from that. So my first job is, let's get the thing back in focus, let's set the targets, set the goals, and then on a monthly basis we can figure out how are we getting towards that goal, what's taking us away from it, and how do we get back on track.
Excellent. Avi, thank you so much for coming on. For those that want to reach out to Avi, reach out to him right here on LinkedIn. Avi, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much.